Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
I'm Uncle Doug.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
That's right. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world. Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields.
We're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get one that we know of, so you'd better make the most of it.
Chee-ha!
Well, guys.
Here we are.
Howdy do, everybody.
Here we are. We're in triple digits. It's never felt better. We're back. We had I just got to say really quickly, thanks for all the wonderful feedback we got last week from the estrangement episode. Like a ton of you really poured your hearts out in emails, and of course we're going to put those on Facebook with your names.
Yes, exactly.
So thank you for that.
We're going to publish them in a newspaper article.
That's right. So no, it's really great, and we really appreciate when you kind of tell us how the stories affect you. So thank you so much for doing that. But this week. We have a horse of a different color, don't we, guys?
Oh, we got a lot of horses. It's a whole horse derves thing.
Yeah,
What?
Dan, you've got a detail sort of thing going on today.
Oh yeah, I got a little wacky little devil.
Yeah, and then I'm going to talk about a weight loss program that won't help you like all weight loss programs, mostly because you'll be dead.
Yeah, that's a problem.
So we're doing Dr. Oz again. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about what happens when you try to pray the gay away and it doesn't fucking matter. So it's fun.
Hooray.
It's actually not a sad story. So that's really good. Today's show, of course, is brought to us by our new sponsor, Jew-Anon, which of course is QAnon for people in a hurry. What did you say, Dan? It's the same.
Yeah, that's right. It's the what did I say? I said less confusion, same conclusion.
That's right. Just jump to the end. It's Jew-Anon where all conspiracies end. So thanks, Jew-Anon, and of course to our real sponsors on Patreon, who we will lavishly give tongue baths to, Jewish or not, in that segment. So let's jump in and do the thing.
Here we go.
Giddy up.
Uncle Doug.
Hello.
So there are good guys and bad guys in the game of life.
Yes.
And I guess I'm calling you a bad guy.
I have been called worse by better.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Uncle Dan, do you have an opinion about good guys and bad guys?
Well, I've got an opinion about a guy named Titivillus.
I like that.
Yeah.
You're talking my language.
Yeah, I'll let you guys be the judge of whether he's a good guy or a bad guy. He's kind of fun.
All right.
All right.
Just to walk us into it, 2 weeks ago I talked about the Urantia book and its supposed scribe, Dr. William Samuel Sadler.
Yes,
and then
you made everybody's head cave in. It was amazing.
and in that segment, I mentioned how he was connected to John Harvey Kellogg, whose craziness I then dove into last week. And now I continue the tradition of 1 week segment inspiring the next with this one, because I briefly mentioned last week that young Kellogg went to work he worked various jobs for Seventh-day Adventist founding loony Ellen White. Mm-hmm. What I didn't mention is that one of those jobs was that of a printer's devil.
Oh?
I read that, and I thought, what you guys said. Well, huh? What the fuck is that? And down the rabbit hole I went until I landed on today's topic. It turns out that a printer's devil is just an apprentice, a printer's apprentice. The kid in the print shop that would do the grunt work like mixing ink and fetching lettering, etc.
Right. In the world before, in the United States before child labor laws.
Well, and yes, exactly.
Right, yeah.
The United States and England. And considering the importance of the printing press up through the 20th century, this seemed to have been a very respectable and formative first job, and was on the theoretical resumes of some very famous dudes, including Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson, Walt Whitman, Mark Twain, Warren Harding, Lyndon Johnson, and a bunch of others.
Wow.
They were all devils in their youth.
Interesting.
Printers, devils.
Well, if you've ever heard that piece of audio tape of Lyndon Johnson ordering a pair of pants from the Haggis Company.
Oh my God.
At least
I have heard
pants are a little
that.
too tight near the bunghole in his nerts.
and his nerds needs another inch in the fabric. It's like riding a barbed wire fence. Anyway, probably skills you learned in the print devil trade.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, why were they called printers devil? Well, we're not actually sure about that. There are several theories that range from the banal to the outlandish. One, for instance, is that an English printer had an apprentice named DeVille. Boo. Don't be stupid.
Boring.
Lame. Other more exciting possibilities include that the black ink would inevitably stain the young man, making him look devilish.
That's better.
Yeah. Black,
Is it?
yeah, I mean, black being associated with the dark arts, and then
I would like to amend my statement.
right, yeah. Well, you will, because speaking of black being devilish, there is also the story of a Venetian printer whose apprentice was of African origin, and everybody in the world was racist then, so they accused the kid of being the embodiment of Satan.
Ah,
Okay,
So-
hold on 1 second. I'm just tweeting. Uncle Doug is objectively pro. Is that a hyphen? Blackface. If child labor laws are being violated at the same time. And send. Okay, where were we?
I feel like that's everybody though.
true.
Anyway, then there's the totally unconfirmed story of printing press inventor and movable type guru Johann Gutenberg and his business partner Johann Fust. And Fust, as the citation needed story goes, took a bunch of Gutenberg Bibles to the court of French King Louis XI, sold them, claiming they were hand-lettered, because this whole thing was so new that nobody really understood that books could come in any way other than hand-lettered.
right.
And
So when
therefore
the
madly expensive, right?
Indeed. Yeah. So only the wealthy could own books. Well, when the Bibles were compared to each other, they found that all the lettering matched exactly. Also, some of the lettering was red, and they came to the only logical conclusion, which was that the red ink was actually blood, and Fust was a witch. He was then thrown in jail, and then didn't get released until the French were convinced that printing was actually a real thing,
What a time to be alive.
and that books could be created that quickly and easily. Nevertheless, his time as a convicted Satan may have given rise to the term printer's devil.
Huh.
But the explanation that I like the most, not to be confused with the one that I find most plausible, is about an actual devil. And it is that devious little so-and-so that I want to discuss today. Uncles, meet Titivillus, or Titivillus, or whatever you want to call him, a.k.a., and this is literally what they called him, the patron demon of scribes.
Titivillus.
Sure. If you don't want to emphasize the titty.
If
which
you're in
I
a
do.
hurry.
Yeah, exactly. I have never heard of a patron demon before.
Yeah.
But I love the concept.
Boy, that's
so-
opening up a whole new world for us.
right?
Yeah.
A whole new world. I don't think I'm allowed to sing any more of that without copyright problems.
Mickey Mouse is kicking in the front door.
Yeah, that's right. You're going down, motherfucker. Okay, so in the Middle Ages, before printing changed the world, every book obviously was handwritten, and that obviously is a fucking pain in the ass. So the scribes who did the work were not only expected to do their lettering beautifully, but also to make this to make no mistakes as they went. So most of those scribes were monks. So who do you blame when you're plugging along at a book and you suddenly notice that there in the middle of your gorgeous illuminated text is a typo or a right-o? Like their very own little Scrivener's Loki, there was Titivillus, this literal little devil who would go from abbey to abbey, monastery to monastery, causing little slip-ups and right-os.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
but-
awesome.
But don't get it twisted. This was more than just harmless chicanery. Fucking up in a manuscript for a monk was considered a mild one, but a sin. So Titivillus collected each mistake in his little bag and lugged them back to his boss, old Satan himself, where they would be counted against the monk that wrote them.
Oh.
In this case, the devil really was in the details. Boom, baby! All right, so the monks, they had someone to blame for their screw-ups, as well as good motivation to try to get stuff right. Titivillus had other side hustles, too. He was said to go to collect the idle chatter that parishioners may have engaged in during church services, as well as any mispronounced, mumbled, or skipped words offered by the clergy. Those would all just go back to the devil to count against the folks in the final judgment. That devil counted everything. So there you go.
I think we got an iTunes review from Titivillus.
We did. Yes, that is absolutely true.
I'm looking at pictures
3
of
stars.
him online.
Yeah.
He's quite a character. In one, he's got lizard legs, and whoop, there's a full penis.
There you go.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not?
You guys keep talking. I'm going to look at these pictures.
I know. No weird noises in the background. Anyway, quoting an anonymous 15th century devotional treatise, Titivillus says, in the you know how crazy the spelling was back then,
Right, not standardized, right?
Right. So I'm not gonna try and read it. I'm not gonna read it in however it's spelled because it's all spelled crazy. But I think I'm gonna try and read it, and if I fuck it up, then just know that I didn't actually correct the spelling when I cut and pasted it into my document here. So here we go. I am a poor devil, and my name is Titivillus. I must each day bring my master 1,000 pokes full of failings and of negligences in syllables and words. So
That's awesome. I like Titivillus.
I guess he had a quota. Eventually, he became more of a widespread mischief maker. He started showing up in satirical pageants as the devil, or rather as the devilish sort of physical comedy instigator. Like a medieval Bugs Bunny character.
Right.
Pulling the stools away from people and stuff, I imagine. Mm-hmm. So, with the advent of the printing press, our friend Titty moved into the mechanical age, causing things like misspelled words, inverting type, or even causing entire rows of type to go missing. Ain't I a stinker? Right. Eventually, when the printers started to get apprentices and they didn't have to skirt the blame for their own fuck-ups, they would just blame the apprentices instead of Titivillus. Thus, they became the printers' devils.
Huh.
Well, how about that?
Is that really where it came from? Probably not, but fuck it. We got to learn about a patron demon, and I'm on board.
That's awesome.
It's probably the racism, but I like this story too.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, for such a kind of benign demon, he's a nasty-looking motherfucker.
Oh, yeah. Well,
he's pretty scary.
There are all manner of lesser demons and Satans in the world, but
Yeah?
he's
I was so bothered by so many scary, religious fucking so much scary religious shit growing up. I'm so glad I didn't know about this because if you can go to hell for spelling problems, ask anyone who follows us on Twitter. We are fucked. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. That's it. It's not a long story, but it's a fun one.
All right. Well, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so.
And stay off of iTunes reviews, Titivillus.
Yeah, exactly. He's a stinker. All right.
Well, let's move on.
Hey, Uncle Mark.
Yes, Uncle Dan. You've caught me here with admiring my stack of nickels.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I was just weighing myself on a scale.
How'd it come out?
It's disappointing for everyone. I'm pretty sure.
Do you feel just a tiny bit overweight?
Yeah, you know what it is? It's not that I need to lose, 20 or 30 pounds. I really just need to shave off a matter of fact, let me just clip this fingernail and
tink.
Done. Okay. Uncle Doug, what do you think about my weight loss program?
That's interesting. I want to talk about an unusual weight loss program.
Yeah, but it's guaranteed to work.
I suppose.
Weight loss instantly. Right. Instant weight loss.
Everybody can do it, and everybody's gonna.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And every now and then, if you really need to lose some weight, you whack off, part of an arm or something.
Except the 3 knee fights and Bigfoot. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, as you uncles kind of hinted at, there is a persistent myth out there that when we die, when we shuffle off our mortal coil, we lose 21 grams. The 21 grams basically instantly disappear from the body.
It's the weight of the soul.
It is the weight, some think, of the human soul as it departs the body.
By some think, do you mean science is a scientific fact? Because that's obviously the case.
It's also interestingly the weight of any substance that can put a black man in prison forever. Yeah.
Oh, that's very sadly true.
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and say right now that this story of the 21 grams is not true.
What?
That way no one has to listen to the rest of the segment and the three of us can grab a cocktail.
Oh, okay.
But for
I already did. One step ahead of you.
So this myth actually comes from a study, air quotes, published by one Duncan MacDougall in 1907.
Oh.
MacDougall was a physician, air quotes, in Massachusetts who hypothesized that the human soul had weight, and then he set about trying to discover what that weight was. How he came to that notion, we will never know, but he did. So in order to figure this out, MacDougall found 6 people in the area that were near death. 4 from tuberculosis, 1 from diabetes, and 1 from an unspecified ailment. And MacDougall specifically wanted people who were suffering from diseases that kept them fairly sedate and bedridden to make the weighing process easier, right?
Was one of the people Sean Penn?
One of them will be Sean Penn.
Okay.
Excuse me. And so when these patients looked to be about at the end, their entire bed with them on it was placed on an industrial scale to try and get accurate weight before and after they expired. So firstly,
come on,
spare a poor thought for these patients.
They're like, give me palliative care. No, stay there until you die.
Right. That's pretty fucked up. And the scale in question had a potential margin of error of up to 5.6 grams. So there's that.
Well, that's still pretty low.
The results of this experiment were, let's just say, less than conclusive. One patient lost some weight, but then recovered it somehow.
What? 2
patients lost some weight at the moment of their death, and then a few minutes later lost even more weight.
Okay.
So explained to, that the soul was either departing in waves. And 2 patients died before the scale could be calibrated. And one of the 6 lost 3/4 of an ounce or 21.3 grams. So
and how much does a fart weigh?
Not much less than 21.3 grams.
Seems like maybe they could be off gassing.
Yes.
If you know what I'm saying.
Most definitely. So MacDougall was the first to admit that a sample size of 1 might not be a foundation robust enough to support the notion of the human soul existing, having a measurable weight, and evaporating out of your orifice at the time of death. However, he never conducted further human experiments, nor apparently did anyone else.
Yeah, tell that to Alejandro Inarritu. That's
right.
all I'm saying.
He did, however, run the same experiment on 15 dogs, trying to substantiate his hypothesis that dogs do not have souls. Now, however,
this guy, see, where this guy really should have ended up is on a watch list. This
totally.
Is serial killer shit.
Real dumb stuff. Well, just wait. Finding docile dogs on death's door is not only hard to say, it's hard to do. And so it is believed that he poisoned healthy dogs to get this experiment going.
Well, yeah, that's how you got to do it.
Right. And wouldn't you know it, dogs don't have souls, much like MacDougall himself, apparently.
Yet they all go to heaven.
It's a loophole.
Right. Now, if there's any validity to this experiment at all, which is dubious, there are several possible explanations for why a deceased body might actually lose some weight. As we'll discuss, 21.3 grams is not a lot. And when the human body dies, for example, there is a spike in temperature as the lungs are no longer cooling the blood, and so sometimes a recently dead person will perspire slightly, which evaporates.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
You actually get a little bit warmer for a minute?
Just for a minute, because your blood is no longer being cooled. The lungs are constantly cooling your blood.
I gotta remember.
You know what?
That's a fantastic parlor trick.
This is good because I look better with just a little bit of a glinty glow.
I know.
And so, so at least I'll look good when I die.
And
Like when you were pregnant.
Oh,
Exactly.
didn't I just glow?
You were just glowing.
Luminous.
So this explanation could not only explain a tiny weight loss in a cadaver, but could also explain why it didn't happen in dogs, because dogs don't have sweat glands.
Oh,
So,
interesting. Okay.
I mean, it's pretty silly. It's backfill, and more than likely, this is just complete bullshit.
Right.
So as I was saying, 21.3 grams is a very small amount of anything. It's 1/17 of a can of Coke, barely enough to wet your mouth. So, unsurprisingly, MacDougall's experiment was met with at best skepticism and at worst derision.
Yeah.
One key point is that the exact moment of death is kind of a moving target, as some systems shut down before someone is considered dead and some do so after.
Sorry, I was just going to say too. So I'm just circling back. They would pick up the person in their bed, haul them down to the loading dock, and put them on the truck scale.
Right.
Like it's not under controlled circumstances, so you don't know when the last time they urinated was.
Yeah.
If they have urine in their bladder, what they've had to eat, when they excreted last.
Yeah.
Like there could not have been those controls with this obviously drunk Scottish person.
Yeah.
So there's, a full bladder is way more than 21 grams.
Precisely.
Well, but
Exactly.
now, mind
Testify
you,
to that.
if they had peed, it would have stayed on the scale, so that would have been a wash.
That's true.
But I like the idea that these people, I don't know. It's all just stupid.
Bearing in mind, in 1907, we knew a lot less about this process than we know now. So determining the exact moment that this mortal coil
Podcasting?
determining the exact moment that this mortal coil is actually shuffled is anyone's guess.
Yeah.
This
and that was a big problem back then
Right.
too. Like, when are people dead?
Right.
Because that was the whole reason that Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein, was because there was this question of when is someone dead.
Exactly.
That's why they hit the Pope on the head with a hammer.
Well, and to your point, Uncle Mark,
It's true.
This matters, of course, because if a patient were to say urinate or defecate or something like that at the moment of death, one could mistake half a cup of cadaverous wee-wee for an immortal soul. So
That's about what my soul's worth.
Well, one of those is real.
at the time of his death in 1920, MacDougall was apparently trying to find a way to photograph departing souls, which he never did because, bullshit.
Well, I don't know. I think you just didn't have the photographic tools that we have now. I think someone should get on that.
Photoshop, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
The myth that we lose 21 grams as our soul departs our body has found traction in popular culture and is actually somewhat widely believed. A lot of people I talked to in this last week, I just asked, have you heard of this 21 grams? Everyone I asked had.
Wow,
no one I knew believed it, but everyone had heard it.
Huh.
The 2003 film, you mentioned, Uncle Dan, 21 grams, states in the movie's final scene that's a fact, that the body loses 21 grams.
Yeah, I remember that. I
Yeah.
went and saw that movie back in the 90s. When was it? 90-something?
2003.
Oh, okay.
And they said
That's the very, very late 90s.
Yeah.
it's 3 nickels or 5 nickels, Doug. Isn't that the thing?
Well, we'll talk about that. The movie was part of two. The movie was part 2 of director Alejandro González Inarritu's trilogy of death, along with Amores Perros and Babel, in which the director set out to prove that people would pay good money to watch very famous people do very little for a very long stretch of time. So, all this got me thinking: if the soul has weight, it's got to have a value, right? So, what might the soul?
My soul is fat.
What might the value of 21.3 grams be? It depends, of course, in the currency used to purchase said soul. If a soul's weight can be measured in U.S. coins, well, there's various scenarios because the different weight of the coins, but soul could be as cheap as 7 cents or as pricey as 80 cents.
Ooh.
The highest denomination U.S. bill is the $100 bill, which conveniently weighs 1 gram, making the human soul worth $2,100 with 0.3 grams to spare.
Woo.
But let's give the soul.
I do have a retirement plan.
Oh, it gets better. Let's give the soul its
Wait,
due.
your retirement plan is dying?
It's collecting your
Like
soul.
most Americans.
Yeah. Let's give the soul its due and assume it's worth more than filthy legal tender. 21.3 grams is equivalent to 106.5 carats. So what's a soul worth in diamonds? Well, as we all know, diamonds are judged by the 4 C's. Anybody?
Yes.
Clarity, cut, crystalline structure, and coffee.
Good enough. And these attributes, with these attributes, nothing beats the I'm going to mispronounce this, Koh-i-Noor diamond, known as the Mountain of Light. Yeah. It's known as the Mountain of Light. It weighs in at a mean 105.6 carats, very close to the soul's actual weight of 106.5. So we can do a pretty even comparison. Now, since the diamond was, of course, stolen by the British in India in 1850 and sits in what John Oliver calls the ongoing crime scene that is the British Museum,
Yes.
there is no actual price for this object, but it could easily be in the billions.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. I love the British Museum. It's amazing. Nothing British in the goddamn in the whole place.
The lucre of a pillaged world.
Yes.
Although the most expensive diamond in the world, it is not the most expensive substance. That goes to, any guesses?
Truffle oil.
Printer ink.
Antimatter.
Oh, okay.
Antimatter,
Drink. It's true.
which is estimated to cost $62.5 trillion per gram.
Whoa.
That does mean, if measured in antimatter, that the human soul could actually cost $1.3 quadrillion.
And it may be made of antimatter. We don't know.
Right? And if you can find a devil that is willing to pay for that crappy soul, that amount of money, I recommend taking that deal.
Where do I get in on this exciting new the antimatter futures?
Right.
What the
Yeah.
fuck?
Well, and all of this is assuming that every human soul weighs exactly the same, and that every human soul is of equal value, which I don't believe.
Yeah.
And that, humans have souls.
Also don't believe.
Right. Uncles, just once again, it turns out that some people will believe very stupid things if someone else says them out loud.
Well, yeah. Well, in fairness, somebody did weigh a thing.
Right.
Somebody,
Apparently.
a guy with calling himself a doctor put some people on a scale. So.
Yeah. A guy in 1907 pushed a gurney on a scale and
How do you
watched
argue with
6
that?
people die.
I don't know how to argue with that.
Yes, with a control group of 1.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Right. So there you go.
It's
there
funny.
it is.
I've actually been. It's funny. I've had in the back of my mind that's something we ought to talk about. So I'm glad you brought that up because I've just I got to spend the time to read this thing, but I haven't done it yet. So I'm glad you did the work for me.
You're welcome.
Hooray for
As usual.
for that, and let's move on. Fellas,
Hello.
it
Yeah.
was a bumper crop this week.
Yeah.
Folks love us.
My God.
I don't-
We love them.
I don't blame them. We're amazing.
We're amazing.
And so we have a whole just a kit and caboodle of people to thank. So
Wow.
I will just dive right into that. So thanks to Mark, Keith, Michael, Donna, Interdimensional Hole of Pancakes, Mike Pence and Mother, Weston.
I knew they were listeners.
Yeah, it makes sense. All it makes
Totally
sense.
makes sense.
David. And then, fellas, we have some heavens to dole out.
Oh, it's been a little while.
It is incumbent on us to design fat-free, lavish heavens for those willing to give at the $10 level or above.
Sustainably harvested.
Yeah, that's right.
Locally sourced. Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. So, Uncle Mark, you have heaven to give to Incognito Fuckboy.
Yes, I've been so looking forward to sending Incognito Fuckboy to his great reward, which is, of course, great because he loves us in just the right way, and that's at $10 a week. So, Incognito Fuckboy, not long after your name falls for the last time from the lips of your loved ones, in the last moments of your mortal life, your cold body lies in the dampness of the earth, but your consciousness still somehow lingers. The peace is wonderful, but is this it? Would your loving parents, Mr. and Mrs. Fuckboy of the East Lansing Fuckboys, let their beloved son Incognito go into the ground if they knew his life would vibrate on beneath the sod? But suddenly you rise, slowly at first, then more quickly, out of the embrace of the soil and into a blazing light. Oh my God, Incognito Fuckboy, favorite son of Reginald and Gladys Fuckboy, you are either a zombie, which is cool, or this is heaven. And while this is indeed your actual heaven in which you will go to your glory, you are kind of right on both counts. But you aren't really a zombie, Incognito fuckboy. You are one of the elect to reside for a refreshing eternity in the forest. My God, the lush, soul-replenishing gorgeousness of it all, the magnificent trees, the ferns, the rocky hills blanketed in lush, damp grasses, the singing of the birds, the buzzing of the bees, the camera flares from the sun setting just so is almost impossibly perfect. If the extended fuckboy family knew this is what awaited them, they'd race each other into a wood chipper just to get a glimpse of it. As your lungs fill with the sweet, cool mountain air, you stride along through the brambles and the wild roses in the mad anticipation of meeting your fellow elect, the others to whom Almighty God granted access to this alpine paradise. Nobody just yet, but no bother, you've got nothing but time. Am I right, Incognito fuckboy? As you now don't weary, you have no need to stop and rest, but you do it anyway. Foxes chase fawns around in the adjacent meadow. The stream beside you teems with the flashes of more trout than you could count. Bluebirds and cardinals dart through the moss-covered trees playing some sort of joyful tag. Butterflies take the rays of the waning sun. How is it you never managed to get to the forest enough in your mortal life? Oh well, you're here now and it couldn't be better. The sunset, while sensational, seems to be taking a while to wrap it up. The foxes and fawns, the cardinals and bluebirds never seem to tire of their gambling and wheeling. That's weird. Your head tells you ought to be hungry, but your stomach disagrees. You've never felt more sated. Neither do you thirst, despite the impossibly tempting mountain stream at your feet. Oh well, why not get to know the place a little better and keep strolling? And so you do. Each meadow gives way to another stand of mature trees bursting with life. Each stream leads to another perfectly gorgeous waterfall on the edge of a gently swaying glen. Wow, Incognito fuckboy, this place really just goes on and on. What the fuck is up with the sun? It has not moved in, forever. Just walk a while further, you reckon. Must be a little village or something around here. But so far, no luck. Not a sign of another lucky soul. Oh well, you think, maybe I'll just lay down and take a nap. The verdant forest floor couldn't be more comfortable, but sleep suddenly feels like an impossibility.
Oh.
You've never been less tired than at this moment. So up you get, Incognito fuckboy, and off you stroll. After what must have been more miles than you used to be able to drive in a day, you sit on a rock by a stream to think this whole new whatever through. Hold on. Wasn't this the same rock you sat on before? Is this the same stream? Can't be, but wow, it looks similar. Holy shit, there's more foxes and fawns right over there. And what the fuck is up with the sun? I mean, who doesn't like a beautiful sunset? But this is starting to get spooky. Hello, you scream into the waving emptiness of the trees as you begin to feel a sense of panic. Still nobody. Nothing but perfect nature in all directions to the horizon. Now you start really pacing this fucking meadow, Incognito fuckboy. Okay, you're not hungry or thirsty. You're not tired. From what you can tell, your skin looks amazing. There's fucking nobody else here, and it's always 8:45 on a summer evening. If you don't need food or water or sleep, and there's nobody else to talk to, what the fuck are you supposed to do? I mean, this place is dope, but it's just trees and rocks and waterfalls and bluebirds. That's it, forever. Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. Your mind races. Hello, you scream again, not even disturbing the playful fawns and dragonflies a tiny bit. Nothing, not a sound. You look up at the cottonwood fluff floating through the amber and amethyst camera flashes of the sunset. The sound of the brook babbling away next to you suddenly takes on an echo of menace. The trees, ever waving in the breeze, seem to mock your fate. The fucking sun, frozen halfway behind the horizon, now feels like an unblinking eye watching you with cruel amusement. Fucking hell, you think, Incognito fuckboy. Maybe this eternal life thing is a waking nightmare of forever perfection. A splendid isolation in a world of impossible beauty you are beginning to hate with every fiber of your being. Panicking doesn't even feel right. Your heart isn't racing. Your palms aren't sweaty. You're fine. Just fine. The panic begins to worsen as you feel its lack. And on top of everything else, you realize that death will not release you, as you cannot die. Not again. You fall to your knees and scream at the azure sky at the top of your lungs as the overhead shot smash cuts further and further back until your form disappears in the lush vastness of this verdant forever. You have been in the forest 12 Earth hours, Incognito fuckboy. Eternities upon eternities by the numberless billions await you in that forest. your celestial paradise from which there is no escape and no respite.
Wow. That's, you know what? That is a recipe for tying foxes' tails together and setting them on fire.
Beautiful place. Sounds like a beautiful place.
Yeah. It's
so
it's
congratulations.
Way to go, Incognito fuckboy.
Yeah, you got you some heaven. And Uncle Doug.
Oh boy.
We have another one. You gotta heaven up Michael.
2 heavens. Well, this is a heaven actually from listener Michael for his wife, listener Karen.
Ooh.
So, well, listener Karen, your wonderful husband has purchased for ye a heaven all your own. How sweet. But before you stare longingly into each other's eyes, be warned, Michael, this heaven is for Karen, not you.
Yeah.
Karen,
Stay the fuck off.
One day the shot clock of your life will inevitably tick down to 0, and the buzzer of your mortality will sound, and you will excrete 21.3 grams of some undefined goo as you pass on to the other side. Whether Michael is at your side at the time of your passing or has preceded you into the void, rest assured as your eyes adjust to your new reality, there will be no Michael in your heaven.
Uh-oh.
He's been great and all, and it sure was fun to share mortality with him, but how to put this mildly, your heaven is like a gym with very high membership requirements, and Michael does not make the cut.
Oh.
I am making a set of assumptions about you, Karen, for the purposes of your heaven, and if I'm wrong, well, it's going to be hell much sooner than expected. Your heaven, Karen, is an unending buffet of 100% grade A man meat.
Oh.
The setting and cast of your heaven is entirely up to you. A shirtless McConaughey tending bar at a beach resort? Done. A recently oiled Channing Tatum delivering pizza? You bet. Idris Elba and Ryan Gosling pillow fighting in loosely fitting white cotton underwear? All yours, baby.
Oh, wow. I just got turned on.
A pantless James Woods just shirt cocking it around a crummy apartment in Queens? Okay. Whatever floats your boat. Anything you want, with anybody you want, at any time you want, it is all yours. And what happens next? Well, that's also up to you. With one notable caveat.
Uh-oh.
As David Beckham and Pharrell Williams slowly undress each other while staring seductively at you, you are going to notice something, or rather, the lack of something. Karen, I'm afraid that your heaven is as cockless as a Ken doll. There will be no there will be no hard-on from Tom Hardy, no DP from Johnny Depp, no jacking it with Hugh Jackman, no getting the rocks off with The Rock. It's just as smooth and featureless as a soccer ball down there. You see, in the perfected state of your heaven, there's no need for food or drink, so no need for number 1 or number 2. And so God, in a move he thought was sure to be a time and material saver, skipped all the plumbing below the waistline for all your potential sex slaves. But although God removed the rods, he forgot to remove the libido.
Oh.
It's not a total loss, you think? So there's no vitamin D in my heaven, but at least Cristiano Ronaldo can service me while Barack Obama waits his turn. Well, Karen, I've got some bad news for you. Take a look. That's right. There's nothing down there but a thigh gap.
Oh.
God, it seems, is an equal opportunity genital thief. There's no man and no boat. There's no clam hat, no love bud, and no fisheye. You can't even pleasure yourself. There'll be no flicking the bean, working the speed bag, or paddling the pink canoe. I'm afraid that you will spend eternity watching Brad Pitt give sponge baths to Michael B. Jordan, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it except wallow in your ever-mounting sexual frustration. Oh, no. So with that to look forward to, try and enjoy the time you have with Michael. He may not have a six-pack, but at least he has a dick. There you go.
You don't know. Maybe he doesn't have one of those either. We don't know, Michael.
Like I said, some assumptions.
Yeah, okay.
Wow.
That's you guys are just mean. That's all I'm going to say.
That heaven is a lot like just being a standard issue Mormon.
Yeah. Yeah, well, welcome to life.
We love you, patrons.
We really do.
That was kind of agonizing.
Like, we love you so much, even regardless of the fact that we treat our best patrons the worst. But we do love you guys so much. And if any of you out there would like to become a patron, it's super easy to do. You just go to howtoheretic.com, click on the support tab, and it'll take you right there. And then you sign up at whatever level you want. We actually don't love any of our patrons any more than any other ones. We just love them. We just feel it bigger for the ones who
we
give us more
we
money.
know which ones we'd save if the house was on fire.
Right? Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. But also, Hey, I think we alluded to it earlier. Look, we sometimes get people who don't know how many stars equals 5, and sometimes they give us fewer than 5, which is really lame. And so we need the rest of you to go on and counteract that by going to your iTunes or your Stitcher or whatever, and just give us a rating. And that rating, just so that you can cheat off of our exam, is 5.
Yes, it's like we said last week. It's 5 or die, bitches. Put your Krugerrands in the little floppy disk tray and send them to us, and then hit 5 stars in Second Life, and you're gonna make our world go round. So
Oh my God.
do that. Let's move on and have some more fun.
Yeehaw!
Uncle Dan,
Hey!
how's it going?
Oh, I'm peachy keen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a little adventure on the show so far. We've had some evil, some lies.
We had a demon.
Yeah.
We need to counteract
We
it.
need something light and happy.
We need to wash a little amuse bouche, a little sorbet.
A story with a happy ending is what we need.
Uncle Mark, you got one for us. I know you do.
Well, it doesn't have a happy ending, but there's a twist that I think you'll like. So,
I do like a good
Yes.
twist ending.
Was he dead the whole time?
he was dead, a very M. Night Shyamalan twist. So boys, we talk about saints from time to time on the show, and
Sure.
how fucking weird that whole commodities market is. But today I want to talk about the power of a particular image, and how over time an image can come to mean something other than its original message.
Ooh.
Perhaps even the very opposite of it in a way. So, even an institution as enormous and powerful and supremely shitty as the Catholic Church can't keep control over the meaning of images it inflicts on this weary world.
Goodbye, Catholic listeners.
Oh, yeah, 'cause we have so many.
Yeah.
I think second to Mormons, we're the hardest on Catholics, right?
The 2 Catholic listeners, one of them has left now.
That's right.
Anyway.
So if and the other one is the Pope, if you're alive and have eyesight, you've no doubt seen the image of which I speak. It is that of a willowy boy on the verge of manhood, tied to a tree and artfully pierced with anywhere from 3 to 50 arrows. This is the image, of course, of young Saint Sebastian, the 3rd century Christian martyr who was not actually martyred in this way, but whatever. So, before we delve into the co-opting of his imagery, let us discuss how this not really a boy got mixed up in such a predicament in the first place. The time, the middle of the 3rd century CE. The place, somewhere on the Mediterranean coast of France. Some guy named Sebastian is born, so that's fantastic. The first we hear anything about his early post-birth life is that he had some level of education in Milan, which is probably nice.
Yeah.
And he then joins army at some point, and by the Catholic telling of this moment, it was to be of secret assistance to imprisoned and persecuted Christians. So that's probably not true. But
I mean, that it does seem like a roundabout way to help imprisoned Christians. I'll join the army.
Right.
Sebastian was playing the long game, right?
He was definitely playing a game. Not sure what it was.
Good. So, despite being so willowy, lily-white, and feminine, if centuries of art are to be believed, he was recognized for his courage and joined the famed Praetorian Guard, the personal security contingent to the mighty emperor himself.
Ooh, fancy.
Quick note, I'm not saying femi twink boys can't be brave. You try being young and hot when the bar closes and the bears are looking for a last chance hookup. That was my Vietnam, guys. Believe me. So, no, I was never.
Wait,
You were
which one
never
were
a
you?
bear. Yeah, exactly.
I'm a bear now. I was never a twink. So anyway, so who was the emperor brave Sebastian was selected to protect? Well, he was none other than the mustache-twirling matinee villain that haunts the Catholic mind even to this day, Diocletian. He of the coincidentally named Diocletianic persecution. The very same baddie you conjure when imagining innocent Christians thrown to lions. So, this would be fine for our young hero, except that Sebastian was a Christian himself. A closeted Christian, guys.
Gross.
So, gross. So, the story goes, well, I remember a time when Christians used to keep that shit to themselves. How about that?
Wouldn't that be nice?
To get a room. So the story goes on to say that our deep state Christian mole came to the assistance of 2 Christian brothers in a Roman jail. Sebastian then went on to Christianize their parents and a whole slew of other people in jail, including one of the jailers. So yay, Sebastian. Does it matter to the story that every single one of them ended up being horribly murdered because of this? Nah. God is good. So, but so moist was Sebastian from the immersive excitement of so many baptisms, bringing so many people so much closer to Jesus via early deaths, that he was found out. The emperor, furious by the betrayal of someone so close to him, believing in a slightly evolved version of the Apollo myth, ordered our hero to be shot more full of arrows than an urchin has quills by a cohort, and I don't know why this is true, of Mauritanian archers for some very specific reason. So, extreme West African archers from the Sahara killed Sebastian, because that seemed to be important. So, poor Sebastian, whose only crime was helping get a lot of people killed, was himself dying on a post and possibly rethinking his life choices, when, as luck would have it, along came Saint Irene of Rome. Yes.
Thank God.
Saint Irene, who at first intended to bury the glorious martyr with Christian rites, but finding him still alive, took him home and corked up all the arrow holes. So, good job, Saint Irene. And I looked her up, and she is a saint, and her only miracle is attending to Saint Sebastian.
So it does occur to me that all of the imagery of Saint Sebastian that I've ever seen, his eyes are open, and I've always found that very strange. But now it makes sense.
Yeah, he lived. He actually was not killed by the arrows.
Although there's one image that I just found of Saint Sebastian, which I find utterly delightful, in which he's got an arrow directly through his forehead, coming out the bottom of his of his chin or whatever. So, or through his neck or something. So that feels like that may not have been. That it feels like Irene would have had trouble patching that bit up.
I just Googled him too, and there's his penis.
Oh,
there it is.
Yeah, there's his little weenser. But I think the number and placement of arrows depends on probably the mood of the artist at the time.
Oh my God! Yeah,
it is interesting. In some of the imagery, he's only shot in like the leg and the arm.
Right.
And before I knew that wasn't what killed him, I'm like, well, that's not selling it. But there's a point, right? That he didn't. That allegedly, that's not what killed him. So. Miraculously, Sebastian, as we discussed, survived the archery incident. Have you ever gotten your ass kicked, and the ass kicker, in an act of brutal mercy, tells you to stay down, lest it gets much worse for you? Well, nobody told poor perforated Sebastian that. So Sebastian, having recovered, positions himself to be at a stairwell the emperor frequented because he knew the guy's travel. And upon seeing him, Sebastian scolded Diocletian for his treatment of his Christian subjects. So, at first, having thought he'd seen a ghost, the emperor grew enraged at the impudence of his former guard, both for speaking to him and being alive, and this time had him beaten to death, and just to make sure it was going to take this time, he was beheaded. Then he ordered his pulpy remains thrown in the sewer. But another nice lady fished his bits out of the sewer and buried him all according to Hoyle. Seems like women cleaned up a lot of Sebastian's messes. So, know when to shut the fuck up, Sebastian.
I do love the idea of, like, having been ordered to be filled with arrows and having that order having been completed. I like it's balls to go back to that dude and be like, you shouldn't shoot arrows at me, Johnny.
Right.
Yeah,
my mama shot arrows at me once.
That's what a second chance is given to you, not to just use it the same way you used your first chance, right?
Exactly.
So, anyway, his is a classic story of the martyrdom to sainthood superhighway of the 3rd century CE.
Sure.
And because there's zillions of them, and like all the rest of them, many of whom we've talked about on this show, like Saint Bibiana. His martyrdom is venerated in frescoes and paintings and sculpture worldwide, except, as I explained, it was not the arrow piercing that killed him, but the later clubbing and beheading that did the trick, which is awed by the standards of Christian iconography.
Yeah.
So The pin-cushioned version of Sebastian began showing up much later in actuality than his alleged martyrdom in the mid-3rd century, and that was following several bouts of plague in Europe. What plague-weary Europeans found miraculous about dear Sebastian was his survival after the archery unpleasantness, rather than his final exit via blunt force trauma.
Yeah.
So
it is the better part of the story for sure.
Yeah. So this twisted image of hope caught on for Europeans who thought a sort of hopeful polytheism was the answer to their problems, rather than proper sanitary conditions and thorough hand washing and not murdering all the cats for sport. So he was even one of the 14 holy helpers, if you remember those guys. For a while.
Yeah.
So they were sort of a Catholic saintly avengers who were begged for intercession during mass disease incidents. But for some reason, he is no longer one of them. I don't know what. Creative differences, maybe. I don't know.
Wow. So he was kicked out of the helpers?
He was kicked out of the 14 holy helpers.
Oh.
Yeah. So he's the patron saint of archers, of course. Pin makers. Those who desire holy death and who doesn't.
When you say holy death, do you mean like sanctified death or death being full of holes?
Oh, that's good. I should check that spelling. And who doesn't want holy death? He's also the patron saint of athletes and the cities of Negombo in Sri Lanka and Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. So good job, Sebastian, for all of that. But over time, this image of a pretty white boy, nearly naked and bound, and with an expression on his face somewhere between agony and ecstasy, has taken on a profound meaning to a community the Catholic Church would very much not like getting its forbidden feels up in their gruesome murder portraits. Thank you very much. And that group of people are my people, guys. The gays.
Oh.
That's right. That's right. That's right, Pope. Go fuck yourself. The 16th. Big homosexual stole your boy, and you can't have him back. So.
Oh, let's be real. Every painter that's painted him since the dawn of time was one of you.
Most of the paint in most of these paintings is actually semen.
Yeah.
Look, and no matter how I go, guys, I would like you to remember me as Jared Leto from Dallas Buyers Club tied to a tree.
Okay, but I'm going to shoot you with an arrow.
Obviously, in the Christian universe, queer folk have had to live secret lives. It was true when Sebastian found himself staring down the business end of a bunch of Mauritanian archers, as it is even now for many of us today, right? So this sanctioned portrait of youthful beauty, meant to inspire the fear of a hateful God and adherence to his blizzard of rules, most of them about sex, instead was the image that stirred so many young gay hearts and hands when they first gazed upon it. Far more than being the patron of pin makers and bothersome Christian athletes, he's the saint of a great gay underground, both in and out of Christianity, since his pierced body first appeared on a church wall. The queer artists and writers who have referenced him is without number, from Oscar Wilde to Derek Jarman and on and on and on. And he may indeed be one of the most common images of a saint ever. Like, more images have been produced of him. I think it's the Virgin Mary and then maybe him.
Wow.
Gosh, I wonder why, says the gay artist as he snickers to himself. Author Richard A. Cale discussed Sebastian's gay symbolism in his scholarly paper on the subject, and he wrote, "Contemporary gay men have seen in Sebastian at once a stunning advertisement for homosexual desire, indeed a homoerotic ideal, and a prototypical portrait of a tortured closet case."
Sure.
With the suffering. And so this is a perfect description of the duality of gay life captured in the image of Saint Sebastian. Such suffering and such beauty. But all seriousness aside, I want to, in a first for this show, thank the Catholic Church for doing something good for the gays. No, I'm serious. Hear me out. I want to thank all the popes, past and present, for giving countless millions of gay Catholic boys around the world a strong first and lasting deposit in the old spank bank. It's a case of doing it's a case of doing the right thing for the wrong reasons, but by God, we'll take it, you evil pieces of shit.
Well, so absolutely, my arrow's getting firmer just thinking about it.
And I don't see it. I don't understand why the image of a skinny white boy being penetrated by a bunch of black men would be arousing for gay people.
What? We lost again, Doug, to the racism.
Penetrated by a bunch of Mauritanians. How's that?
Oh, there you go. So that's Saint Sebastian, boys, the martyr of masturbation. I don't know what to do with that, but it's true.
Everybody go fletch your arrows, and we'll move along.
Well, friends, that is it for this week's show.
Hey, we'd love to hear from you. If you've been shot by 150 arrows, send us an email at howtoheretic.com with pictures for Mark.
And that's right. Or if you have a way to measure like the introduction of arrows versus the loss of 21 grams in a controlled environment, please be that scientist and leave us a voicemail about it at 903-88-HOW2, which is 903-884-6906. You can also tell me to yell at Dan on Twitter at HowToHeretic.
And thanks and love to our awesome patrons.
Thanks to Cody Layton, also for editing the show.
And thank you, friends, for tuning in.
And I'm Uncle Dan. Bye, friends.